Great, awesome. Welcome, lovely ladies. I don't know where everyone else is. Where are you guys? As long as you're getting caught up, that's the main thing. So, welcome to Bold, Brave, Badass Week 4. Can you believe it? We're past halfway already. Gosh, where's the time gone? There we go. That's better. So, here's Ray. Good, welcome. As you jump on, I've already started. So, as you would have experienced last week and on the live feed, we got to go out into the future. And this week, we're going to dive into goals, into how to really set intelligent goals that help you bring them to life and make them happen faster. And hey, nice to see you, Linda. And also, yeah, just so that you get a really deep understanding of the best way to set goals. I think if you turn to page 21 in your workbooks, as it says here, one of the greatest contributions with the art and science of NLP is of neuro-linguistic programming is that the way you state the goal does make a difference. And researchers in the mid-late 70s discovered that a goal which is positively stated is more accomplishable than one that is negatively stated. So what do? We must say it the way you want it. So most of us aren't clear around what it is that we want to start with. And then secondly, we just don't state it in the positive or in some other ways that I'm going to talk about in a moment. And so let's get a little bit more detailed into this around what is a SMART goal. So let's turn over the page to page 22 and you'll see, firstly, what is a goal? So a goal is an aim or an end in mind. So end meaning a direction in life, and end means an outcome and something that you can accomplish. And then when you are done, you're done. Yeah, like there's an end to it. So the way we want to write goals is in a way so that they're SMART. Now, I'm sure you guys have all heard of SMART goals. And the best part of NLP is they've kind of added on to that a little bit. So I'm going to go through all of that in a moment. Let me just try to get out of here. It's not working. Okay. So let's go through this and I'll expand on what everything is. So you'll see that it looks a little bit different to how you may have seen it before. So let's look at what SMART means. So S stands for specific, and it needs to obviously be really specific. I mean, that one's pretty straightforward, and I'm sure that's something that you understand already. For an example, if you were to say, I want to break even in my business, or I want more money in my business, I want to lose weight, or I want to have a better relationship. So none of those things are specific enough for the unconscious mind for it to understand what it is that you want. So how much more money do you want, right? If it's break even, what is that? If it's to make more money, how much more money specifically? Is it $1 more? Or is it $1 million more or 1,000 more, whatever it is? So when we use the word more is already a comparative that's used in that statement. So more than what is going to be the question, right? So we need to get really specific around how much more. The second thing is simple. And so I'm sure you've heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And this is really important for the unconscious mind to keep it simple. And even though the unconscious mind is not stupid, it's actually extremely intelligent and amazing. I love my unconscious mind. But it's delightfully simple, and it's just a simple being. So a good metaphor of how to think of your unconscious mind is to imagine your unconscious mind as your 5-year-old sister or brother. And they look up to you. They look up to you like you're the king or the queen. And this is how your unconscious mind looks up to your conscious mind. Now, nevertheless, though, that that little brother or sister is actually very powerful. And because it's taking care of your body, it's taking care of your memories, it's organizing everything in your timeline. So your unconscious mind does so many things, and it's extremely intelligent, even though it's not the intellectual part, because that's your conscious mind, right? However, if you write a goal that's convoluted, then it doesn't know what it is that you want. So it gets really confused. Or if there's an out cause in the goal, right? Again, there's a lack of congruency there. So the unconscious mind gets messed up. It sees that there's secondary plans there, right? So you want to make sure you forget those. Keep it simple. Keep your goals really specific and simple, meaning also short, easy to understand, simple words, so that if you were to say that sentence to a 5-year-old child, which is your 5-year-old unconscious mind, they'll understand and they'll get it. Crystal clear clarity. So this is really important for S, for simple. Next is M, so measurable. So I know you know this. It's so that you know when you've got it, how you're going to know when you've got it. So some people say, well, I want to be happy. Well, if you know anything about being in control of your state, you can be happy anytime you choose. You can think of a time when you were totally happy, a specific time when you were totally happy. And when you do that, and if you were to do that right now and go back to a time when you were totally happy and go inside your body and see what you saw and hear what you heard and feel the feelings of being totally happy, then you feel happy, right? Smile comes on the face and you can feel what it felt like to be totally happy. So that in itself is not something that can be measured. So for example, I work with a lot of my one-on-one clients have depression. And so one of the things that they say is, I will know that this depression is gone when I feel lighter. So right now, when they come in, when they first start, they feel very heavy, like they can just feel this heaviness over them. And so for them, they're able to measure that. I can't measure, but they can measure that in terms of how that feels once they've gotten rid of all the baggage from the past. And so that for them could be something that's measurable, rather than saying, I'll be happy. And of course, then we've got other things such as, weight goals or money goals, or, how are we going to determine when you've got there. And this is really important in the process, because one of the questions we ask when we put the goal into the future, which hopefully we have time to do tonight, if not, we'll do it next week, is what's the last step? Like, what's the last step that you will know that you've got your goal? So for example, if I have a weight loss goal, I don't like to use that word loss, but let's say a weight goal, and I want to get my ideal weight is whatever it is, right? Let's say size 8, size 10, whatever. So how do I measure it? I measure it by knowing that I can fit into that size of clothing. And so this is the importance of measurable, so that you know you've got it. The second thing is meaningful to you. So this means that it's meaningful to you, that it's not meaningful to your mother or your brother or your sister or your auntie or your uncle or your kid or whoever it is, but that it's going to be really satisfying for you. And also, you cannot set goals for somebody else. So meaningful to you may not be meaningful to someone else. So if you're in a friendship or a business partnership or something and you're setting goals that involve somebody else, you can't do that. You can't set goals for them. Of course, if you've come to an agreement and they're going to also be a part of it, and you're in a relationship in some way and that agreement's being made, yes, but you can't actually set goals for somebody else. And I hear this a lot in business. So clients that I've worked with that they've just gone to university because their parents wanted them to. So that happens quite a lot, right? We get influenced by what everyone thinks we should do, and therefore it doesn't become meaningful to you. So if it's not, then you're not going to have the motivation or the drive or the importance to make that happen. So this is key. And of course, this is where a little bit in the next one of, I mean, you know, some of these, you'll see some of the differences of traditional goal setting with just the, you know, the specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. But the first one on A is as if now. And this means to write the goal in the present tense. So you write it as if having it now. Okay, so, and then, good afternoon. My Siri is kicking in. No, you just stay there and keep quiet. So if you, for an example, you say, right, okay, you have a goal that's for the future, and you say, actually, this is a great way to write it down or write it in the comments box. But basically, you're going to say, it's, hey, Curtis, it is now, and then you'll have whatever the date is. So this also is going to include the time-based section. It is now. Now, of course, if I'm writing it today on the 7th of February, but my goal is to have achieved it in 3 months' time, then obviously it's not actually the 7th of May, at the time that I'm writing it, but I'm writing it as if now in the present tense. So I would write the date of where my deadline is. And then you can say here, I have easily and effortlessly or healthily, like if it's a health goal, I'll usually include their healthily, which I'm not sure which word is correct there. But you know, that they've done it safely. They haven't just lost 20 kilos in 5 weeks or something, and it's not healthy. So there's certain words that you can just throw in there to, again, make it really supportive to the human, to the person, and the unconscious mind will enjoy that as well. So I've easily and safely or easily, I'll just throw in a few words as examples. Safely, healthily, is that the word? Healthily, okay. Obviously, it's going to cater to whatever the goal is. And it could also be, as another example, it is now, and then the date, and then I am, right? So I am whatever, a business owner, for an example. Or it could also be I am, something that you're being as well. It could also be something like that. So that's the best way that you want to, or I'm doing, something that you're doing. Okay. I am doing or doing, blah, 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 whatever it is. And so this will help, like this little format will help frame up the best way to structure your goals so that they're in the present tense as if now. So some people say, well, you know, like what I said before, I'm not in the future, I'm here now, so it doesn't make sense for me to do that. Well, the reason why we do this is because the unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is not real. So what will happen is, more often than not, you'll get your goal before, like earlier than the date. So this happened to me. Now, there's one little, what's the word? Key to the success of all of this goal setting. And that is congruency. Now, when I first learned this technique, I was like, this shit doesn't work. I put goals into the future and they don't happen, you know. And so there was a couple of things. First one, I wasn't totally congruent with it. And then the second was I didn't necessarily take the action to be able to make it happen. So these two keys is really, really important. And I'm going to come back around to these at the end. So at this particular time, when I decided I was no longer going to work in the fitness industry, I had already been thinking about it for a long time, but I'd never said, this is it. Like, this is it. By this date, I'm resigning from Virgin Active and I'm going to do my business full time. So I got to the point when I got like so congruent, and I knew it was 28th of September, and I put it on my mirror next to me, in my office, and I put it into the timeline, which is what we're going to learn later. And because I was so congruent with it, and I put it in that it is now 28th of September, and I am now an independent business owner. I'm working solely for myself. And it happened sooner. I ended up going to the US doing my assisting for the NLP master practitioner as part of my master trainer program, which is 5 years, and I'm in the second year. I have to go and assist at training. So I went to Las Vegas to assist, and I was just on fire there, obviously around that kind of energy for 2 weeks. And I came back and I resigned straight away. And then I finished at the end of August. So it happened a month earlier. And so this is what happens. The unconscious mind creates what it is that you want when you get really clear and congruent around what it is that you want. And so that's exciting. I like things to happen sooner, especially when it's really good stuff. Well, all of it should be good because it's your goals, right? So cool. So that takes also care. So that's as if now, and that also kind of takes care of timed, yeah, at the bottom of the T. So of course you've got to make sure you put a date. Next is achievable. So I'm going to speak a little bit more to this as I get to realistic, because they go kind of hand in hand and very similar. So slight differences between it. But I'll go a little bit deeper into it. Just for now, I'll just say, is it achievable? Like, could you achieve it? So if you think around what the goal is and how much time you're giving yourself, like, is it possible that you could do it within that time frame? Is it safe for you? Is it healthy for you? Is it going to be easy for you to do? Not too easy, but challenge you a little bit, but definitely doable. So that's what I'm going to say about achievable, and I'll come back to that a little bit in a minute. So the next one is all areas of life. And so satisfaction, like real satisfaction and fulfillment, comes from having all areas of life attended to. Now, that doesn't mean that you have necessarily all of the time, goals that you're working on in all of the areas of life. You might be focusing on 2 or 3 at the moment. When I do the BBB Mastery, we work on 3 different areas simultaneously. Now, one of the girls has chosen to just work on one area because that's just, she thinks that's going to impact all the other areas. But for the rest of them, we're working on 3 areas. So it's just those 3 that the focus is, but they still have little goals that are still on the other areas of life. And of course, you guys are working just on one specific area at the moment, and that's good. But it's always going to work out that you're not necessarily going to be equally attending to all of the goals that you have in all areas of life. It will be a little bit of a yo-yo, and you'll kind of be really full in certain areas, and then some other areas may not be attended to, and it's kind of like this little play of creating the synergy and the harmony. So, however, in order to really have that fulfillment, at least having goals in each area is really important. Next is realistic. So we go to R. So what does realistic mean? Well, here's the thing. I played tennis. So I grew up playing tennis from the age of 4, and I know how competitive the game is and competitive the sport is, and how your body, to be a professional athlete, to be a professional tennis player, needs to learn the movement patterns and get all of that ability to react, the hand-eye coordination, the speed of the ball, being able to groove in the technique and the pattern of serving and so forth, and all the different strikes. So if somebody came to me, and that needs to start from a very, very, very early age. So if someone came to me and they said, hey, I want to learn to play tennis, I want to be at the pro level, and I want to win Wimbledon. Now, some people think, well, what the mind can can believe, the mind can achieve, right? Well, in some cases, not necessarily true. So it would take probably about 15 or 20 years. And only if you produce that kind of behavior of, repetition, of continuous training and conditioning the neurological system, the neurology of the body. So it's just totally grooved into that neurology. I can't speak because I've had 3 days of fruit cleanse and my mind's, well, it's kind of clear, but it still doesn't function so well. And so just to be able to react, and the reflexes that are formed from a very early young age. So that really only happens as a child. Now, so if someone came to me as an adult and said this, in their later years, then it just wouldn't be realistic. The same thing goes for any athlete that wants to be an Olympic athlete or a musician or something like that. Like it's just not going to be realistic. So in that case, we're going to obviously reflect on what it is that the goal actually is, and if it's going to be realistic for that person to ever get there at all. So on top of kind of goes a little bit hand in hand with realistic, but I also like to just throw this in, which is around just willing to do whatever it takes, willing to get uncomfortable, willing to just do anything that's required to get you towards your goal. A lot of people want the easy road, or they want the easy street, right? I want the goal. I've had clients that have come to me and they said, hey, I want to lose weight. Can you hypnotize me and make me lose weight? It doesn't work like that. That would be wonderful. Everyone would be skinny, right? And so it doesn't magically happen. Goals just don't magically happen. And they spoke about this on The Secret, right? I told you the law of attraction, when you put out there what you want, you can bring it in. Or they forgot to tell you the part about action and how that's going to happen is through actually doing the work. So that's key. So now let's talk about responsible and ecological. And this is something that's really, really important to us in the school, in my school as well, and I train my students in NLP, is responsibility and ecology. So what ecology is it means the study of consequences. So in simple terms, that means, is it a win-win situation for everyone involved? So usually we'll consider 4 main areas. Is it a win-win for yourself? Is it a win-win for you and your immediate family or people that are close to you? Is it a win-win for you and others, so the community, perhaps the society that you're in? And then is it a win-win for the planet? So there's those 4 things that we look at in terms of ecology. So as long as it's a win-win for everybody, then we're good. Then we're being responsible. So it kind of just goes hand in hand there. So an example is, what I would always ask my client, like, if you get this goal, what will happen to you? What will be the impact? If it's a positive impact, then that's good. Like if somebody said to me, someone said, Judy, I want to have like an abundance of energy all the time. So that's really good. Energy is really good. And we need to also rest. So it wouldn't be a win-win for the client to have energy all of the time. They would need to not have energy while they sleep so that they can rest and their body can do its thing. So in that case, that would not be a win-win for the client. So I would need to dig deeper and find out what it is that they actually want, because energy all the time, they would be bouncing off the ceiling and off the walls. And so also if it's like a personal goal, it may include your family. And so you would want to consider what impact it has on the family. Let's say, for an example, it was something to do with traveling and you were never at home. So then that's going to have a huge impact, and you weren't traveling with the family. That's going to have a huge impact on the family because you won't be there to support or whatever it might be. And so that's an example of that. One of the girls that I was on the BBB last time, she said to me, Judy, I'm like a little bit confused about this, you know, like for the ecology with others. So her situation was she was living in, I believe it was her apartment. I'm not quite sure. I think it might either that or her and her friend had rented an apartment. So her and her boyfriend and her friend were living in this apartment together. And her and her boyfriend wanted to move out, or wanted her to move out. And she felt so bad because one of her big issues was what other people think, what other people say. So she never wanted to say the wrong thing or hurt people. Like, such a sweet lady. And so she was like, well, you know, me and my boyfriend want to move out because we want to take the next step in our relationship. But that means that that's going to impact my friend because she's not going to have anywhere to live or someone to live with. And I said, well, in that situation, you know, if you don't, then you're sabotaging yourself because this is what you guys want. Now, she will have somewhere to live. She can go and find another flatmate. She can go and find another place to live. So it's not, in that case, it's not going to, you know, be a lose for her, so to speak. She's still going to have options. So, and then in business, you know, like if you were to consider, or even society or the planet. So, for an example, if I had a client and they said to me, oh, do you want to make like a lot of money? Or they said to me they're going to make a lot of money. They've got this great business idea. But in order to do that, they needed to, you know, cut down 1 million trees. Again, depending on where and what, all that kind of thing, like, could have a massive impact, could take down a whole community, could, you know, impact the animals and so forth. And so in that case, there would, you know, need to be a question in terms of if that's ecological. So that's just because that could impact, you know, society, community, and it would also impact the planet. Good. Awesome. How are we going? Any questions so far? All good? Good stuff. So moving on. So that's R, and we are now at, we've done time, so it's just having a deadline, having a date, and then toward what you want. So we've spoken a little bit about this when we did the values. Remember, we had towards money and away from poverty. So it's going to be towards what you want, not what you don't want. Because a lot of people know what they don't want, and they can say what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. So what specifically do you want? And it needs to be written in that context. So it's towards what you want. Okay, cool. So here's what I want you to do now. Good, thanks, guys. I would like you to turn to page, oh, there's no page number there, but it's page 24. So it's goals to insert into my future. And I'd like you to at least write one goal that follows this model of the SMART principle with all of the things that I've spoken about. And it's written in that context as if now, and structured similar to how I've got it there. So you've got a date already. So I've kind of already got that part there. And then it is now, if you want to insert that, and then the date, and then I have, I am, I'm being, I'm doing. And then I'll give you 5 minutes to do that, and then we're going to go through how we put that into the future. So make sure that goal that you're working on is, because remember when we first started, you got to write down what you wanted to get out of this. So you can go back to that and then check with the goals that you have written if they were smart. If they're already smart, you're good to go. And if not, then just rework that so that it's specific, simple, measurable, meaningful to you, as if now, achievable, and so on. I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, with the scope varying depending on modules.
Okay, how are you going? Do you need a little bit more time? Or you good? A little bit more time? Okay. All right. Karina, I'll check back in with you in a minute or two. Also, if you get stuck or you need help, just jump on. Here for you.
So Judy, when we're writing the goal and we start it as it is now blank, I'm to write the present date or the date that I would like to accomplish this by. The date I want to, you're muted.
Thank you.
I'm reading a bit.
Thank you. I was trying to delete out the noise from behind me. Yeah, the date that you want to achieve the goal by.
Okay.
So it might feel weird because you're writing it is now, blah, but
Yeah.
you're writing it so that it's as if now.
Okay. And then
even though the
specific
date, hey?
and then be specific with like numbers or simplicity, and then have a reason behind it.
Say again.
To be as specific as like with numbers or how I feel with my feelings or my reasoning.
Not necessarily how you'll feel, because we will use that when we get the last step and we bring up whatever it is that you see at that last step. But like, let's say if it was a money goal, you could just say something like, I've easily and effortlessly, or I've easily and whatever it is that you say, or even just I've easily earned this much dollars, or I've easily achieved whatever it is, this much money, or I've easily hit making whatever it is, if it's a financial goal.
Okay.
So easily also speaks to the unconscious mind because it also likes, it likes creativity, it likes words, like adjectives as well. And it will also tell your unconscious mind that you don't need to work hard for it, perhaps. Of course, you need to be in action, but you don't have to kill yourself in the process of making that goal happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks for asking. All right, how are we going, ladies and gents? Are you done? Is Curtis there? Ray, you got one? Renato, you got one? Have you got one? Renato, you got one? Just nod if you've got one. Renato, I've unmuted you now. What did you say?
Yes, I've done my goals, and now it's a mix of the future and the present, because it just happened now. You know what I mean? I've done this like a few months ago, so my goal in the future is happening now. Actually.
Okay. So what if you do another one that's going to amp that one up in the future, if it's already happening?
Yeah, I didn't figure out yet, but probably it's going to happen.
Okay. Well, that's something to think about.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay. So are you good, Glenda? Have you got one? Have you got it done? Perfect. Moira, you good? You're still writing. Look like you're still writing. You still going, Moira?
No, I'm good.
Good? Okay, awesome. So, all right. Here's what we're going to do now. Flip over the next page, and I'm going to walk you through how we put it into the future. Now, first thing is we make sure that the goal is read and smart, which is what you've done already. Then the second step is to get the last step. So what is the last step so that you know that you've got your goal? So for an example, if it was, I want to be a size 8, then I will know when I put a certain type of jean on. I know those jeans are an 8. When I put those jeans on and I fit and I see myself in the mirror, that's the last step that I know that I've got the goal. If it's a money goal and then you look at your bank account and you see, or you look at your reporting, whatever it is, and you see that your income hit that goal. It could be that where you see it in the bank, or you see it on the statement, or you see it whatever. So what's the last step for you to know that you've got your goal? That's the second part. So make sure you've got this for the goal that you've just set yourself, the SMART goal. Now, we're not going to do this process just yet. I'm going to walk you through it first, and then we'll do it together, okay? So don't do it yet. Just listen. Step number 3 is then you'll make a picture, or you'll bring up the picture of that last step. So, for an example, when I imagine myself putting my size 8 jeans on, that last step, like I see a picture of that. I actually see myself standing in front of the mirror doing up the jeans, and I can see that picture in my mind. And so same thing with the money goals. I could see my computer. So there's a picture that you will see of that last step, and you need to bring that picture up. And it's just in your own imagination. Okay. And then the step number 4 is you step into the picture. So if it's the one with me in the jeans, like I'm in the picture and I'm looking into the mirror, like I'm looking through my own eyes, I'm in the picture, versus being outside of the picture and looking at myself from the outside as the third person. So you're actually in the picture, looking through your own eyes. That's step number 4. Step number 5 is to adjust the qualities of the picture. So there's a few things that I will say. We've got 3 different areas of the what we call submodalities, which is just the distinctions of visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So you'll see the picture and it might be black and white or color. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is to play around with the color or change it to black and white. And what you want to do is you want to make it the most positive, real kinesthetic for you. So if it's black and white, you might want to make it color. And does that make it feel better? Does that make it more kinesthetic for you and bring it to life more? And then I might say, what about the brightness? Do you want to make it brighter or dimmer? So you imagine, you know, those old TVs that I had when I was growing up, telling my age now, and they have those little dials on them, little dial, you would turn up the volume and turn up the brightness or turn it down or whatever. So it's just like you're doing that and you're just turning the dials up or down. So the brightness, you could make it really, really, really bright and see where it's too much, take it down low, 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 and just play around with it and see what makes it feel the most real for you. Also the location of the picture. You know, some people see it right here in front of them. Some people see it further away or off to the side. So what happens if you move the picture closer or move the picture right in front of you from if it was off to the side? Does that make it more real? And also the size of the picture. If you made it bigger, does it make it more real? Does it amp it up for you? Or what if you made it smaller? So if you adjust with the size, then this is what we do with adjusting the qualities. And then we'll do the same thing for the sound. If there's any sounds, you may or may not have sounds. If you do, then I'll get you to play around with the volume of that sound. If you take it up higher, is it more of a real kinesthetic for you? Or if you take it down lower. Or it could be the location of the sounds. Like sometimes the sound could be coming from here, it could be coming from behind you, it could be coming from straight in front of you. What if you were to change where that sound came from? Would it make it more real? And then we've got the kinesthetic, so the feel. So when you feel a certain way, like when you've got this goal, how are you going to feel? Like it could be I'm proud, it could be I'm happy. And then how does that feel in your body? Do you have a sensation in your body? It could be in your stomach or in your chest or down your arm or whatever it is. So I get you again to play around with the location of that feeling. Make it bigger, make it smaller, and see where it makes it the most real, positive kinesthetic for you. And then also the intensity of that picture, that feeling, sorry. So if you were to make it more intense or less intense, which one makes it the most positive, real kinesthetic for you? Because we want to get that last step, the quality is really intense for you so that it feels so real, and this will be so powerful for you when you put it into the future. Step number 6, once you've got it where you want it, then step number 6 is you step out of the picture. So you leave your body in the picture. So it's like if I'm leaving my body in the picture, like in front of the mirror, putting my jeans on, I'm like the third person. I can see my body. I can see myself looking into the mirror. So that's when you step out of the picture. We call it dissociated. And then number 8 is to energize the picture with 4 deep breaths. This is a little bit of I'm also trained in some Hawaiian techniques, and so this is comes from that, where it's just putting the energy into the picture. So we're going to take 4 deep breaths. So we breathe into the nose, we exhale through the mouth, and you're putting all of your energy into that picture that you can see. And we do that 4 times. Then what you do is you float up above. Oh, sorry, did I miss a step? Yeah, I missed number 7. So let me backtrack. Before we do the breaths, we float up above the timeline, right up above the timeline, up above now, and then we do the 4 deep breaths. So I'm sorry, I missed a step there. Once we've done the 4 deep breaths, we go to step number 9 and we float out to the future. So just like you did last week and on the live feed, you're going to take yourself, float forward out into the future to the date. So if it's the 7th of April, then you're going to float forward, whatever your date is for your goal, then you float out into the future to that date. And then all you do is you insert the picture. You just like let it drop straight down into the timeline. And step number 11 is you're going to turn and look towards now, and you're going to notice the reevaluation of all of the events that are realigning to help support you with your new goal. And you may or may not notice that, and we'll call that to your attention as that happens. So, sometimes people see it like kind of like a filing cabinet, like things just slotting into place, meeting the right people, doing the things that are required to, bringing on new clients, going to the gym, working out. Of course, it depends on what the goal is. But they see all of those things occurring and happening for them. And then we float all the way back to now. So number 12, come back to now, and we come back into the room. So that's the process. It's really fun. It feels amazing. I love it. And you'll see there it says, then let go of the form. Now what that means is let go of how you're going to make it happen. Just take the first step. Just keep focused on your goal. Be in action. Relentlessly focus on what you want and be in action towards what is required for you to do, what it is that you want to do. And let go of, I've got to achieve this goal by this date. I've got to, when you're like that, then you're too much in your head. So you've got to trust that this will occur for you when you're so clear and so congruent about the goal. So that's one of the things I mentioned earlier, congruency. Now, what I recommend is trying on the goal, right? So when you look at the goal that you've set, I want you to compare it to a universal thing. So, for an example, I did this with my girls the other day, but most of us know that the sun is going to rise tomorrow morning. Yeah, so we know that we have nighttime in the evening, the sun sets, and we have morning and the sun rises. So most of us have a congruency. We know that that's going to happen. So if you were to think about the knowingness that the sun is going to come up tomorrow morning, we're going to have sunrise. When you try that on, something that that's like a belief that you believe, how does that feel? Get like a bit of a kinesthetic map of how that feels. Like for me, I feel like something in my gut. I can really feel this sensation here, and I know that's going to happen. Some people feel different things or don't feel anything, but it's just a knowingness that is something that will happen, right? Now I want you to just kind of lock that into place, and then I want you to try on your goal, the one that you've written. And how does that feel in terms of knowingness, like total congruency that you know you will achieve that goal? How does that feel? Does it feel the same? Does it feel different? If it feels different, what is it? You might have a limiting belief. You might have a negative emotion. And I want you to write that down. If that does come up, I want you to write it down in the negative emotion pages or the limiting decision, limiting belief pages. Okay? Because we'll get to work on that next week and the week after. And that should be an important emotion for you to release so that you can be on track with making this goal happen. Because the only reason why you don't achieve what it is that you want when you put goals into the future is something from the past and congruency. So you've still had negative emotions and limiting beliefs, and you just weren't congruent. And of course, you didn't take action. Just checking. Cool. So how does it feel? Did anything come up for you guys of incongruency around the goal? Type it in the message if you had anything come up. this is the beauty of this process. I had a one-on-one client, and she was doing coaching for relationships, and she was in a marriage that didn't work out, and she had a beautiful boy, and she kept meeting losers, guys that just didn't work out. So we did a full breakthrough session, and at the end she got really clear around what type of man she wanted. And this is really important as well. You've got to be really, really, really specific. So for a relationship, and I actually did this as well, and I met Curtis 4 or 5 months later. Yep. With Sarah, she got really, really clear. We set the goal into the timeline. It was like the 7th of August or something like that. And she met him the week before that date. She met him the week before online, and they had their first date on that day, on the 7th of August. And she came, like, after it happened, she came back, she's like, I can't believe it. Like, I met him the week before, and then we got together, and now they're engaged. They've just bought their first, like, their house together, and it's really cool. Will it really happen? Yeah, I want it, but I've tried to do this before and not got there yet. Yeah, Moira. Thanks for sharing. Nothing negative came up. A lot of positive vibes, because I see I need to do what I need to do to achieve it, plus saying it helps heaps and channeling through the universe. That's right. Good. That's a good one, Moira. So what is it? What's the emotion around that? What's the belief behind that? Is it, like, for an example, and this may not be true for you, so reject this. I'm not suggesting this to your unconscious mind at all. Reject this if it's not true for you. Disappointment, okay, good. Because it could also be fear of failure. It could also be, I just don't believe that I can do it. You know, something like that, which could be a living belief. So we want to clean that up, because this is still, the past is creating your future, right? Something that happened in the past is still going to impact your future if you keep that in play. And even if you don't, like, maybe consciously, you know, you have this battle where you know you can, but no, I don't think I can. You know, it's like going back and forth, and this is just conflict. Again, a misalignment of values, perhaps, and beliefs. So write that emotion down. We're going to write it in where we have the separate page for negative emotions, and now we're going to put a goal into the future. This goal into the future. Are you ready? Where'd Coco go? Come back, Coco. Got stuck and couldn't it now. Oscillating priorities. Something's out of alignment there by the sounds of it, Moira. Could be just the living decision. So I would invite you to inquire more into that. So you can still put this into the future, and you'll want to do some work around the limiting belief and negative emotion, so that you can focus on what you want and have congruency. Because guess what? The universe provides what you're clear that you can have. So if you don't think you can have it, then the universe and this unconscious mind is not going to go get it for you. That's its job, but it only gets what it feels it's congruent with and is in alignment with. Okay, you guys ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, this is exciting. Okay. Moira, your pages are everywhere. That's usually like me. I can totally relate to that. Good, she's writing it down. I'll just wait a second for her to do that. All right. Good to go? Good. So you've all got your last step, yes? You've all got the last step of how you'll know you've got the goal. Just give me a nod if you've got that. Good. As Moira and Glenda, you got the last step of how you'll know when you've got the goal? Yep. Good. Cool, Curtis. Nice. So go ahead and now bring up the picture. That last step, the picture of that last step. You can close your eyes open, whatever. And make sure that you're in the picture and you're looking through your own eyes. So you're associated in the picture. Good. Now let's adjust the qualities of the picture. So we're going to adjust those submodalities. So let's start with the visual. Is it black and white or color? What if you made it color or you made it black and white if it was one or the other? Does that feel more real? And does it bring a more positive kinesthetic for you if you were to change it from color or black and white? And then whatever you've got it in, just lock it into place. What about the brightness? Would it feel better if it was brighter? Dial it right up, really, really bright. If it's too much, dial it back. How does that feel? Or dial it right down, see how that feels and compare, and then dial it right back to that point where it's the most positive, real kinesthetic for you. What about the size of the picture? Is it life size? Is it small, like the size of a box or size of a postage stamp? Whatever. Make it bigger, perhaps. Even bigger. And how does it feel when you make it bigger? Does it make it more positive and more real for you? And then play around with the size. And when you've got the perfect size, lock it into place. And then what about the location of the picture? Is it right out in front of you, off to the side? Where is that picture? And what if you played around with the picture? If you brought it right in front of you or brought it right up close to you, does that feel more positive, more a real kinesthetic? Good. Now, once you've got that, what about the sounds? Are there any sounds that are important? Maybe sounds from outside of you. Where is the location of those sounds? Are they coming from in front of you, side of you, behind you? What if you change where the location come from? Just play around with it. Change the locations to the side, change it to the front or the back, and lock it into place. Wherever it feels the most real and positive kinesthetic, just lock that in. And then I want you to think about perhaps the pitch or the volume of those sounds. Turn up the volume. If it's louder, does that feel more kinesthetic or is that a bit annoying? Turn it right down. Like find the most positive, real kinesthetic, and then the pitch and the tone. Did play around with the pitch and the tone. Make it squeakier or make it deeper. Play around with that and feel and find the most positive, real kinesthetic for you. And then finally, we're going to go into the kinesthetic. How does it feel? Are there any feelings that are important? Kinesthetic that's important. What is it that you feel? What emotion do you feel? And where's the location of those feelings? Is it in the chest? Is it in the belly? What if you moved it around and switched it or moved it throughout your entire body? Does that feel more intense? How about the intensity? Is it medium or low or high intensity? And if you adjusted those intensities around, and what makes it the most positive, real kinesthetic for you? And once you've got it, at the most real, positive kinesthetic for you, I want you to step outside of the picture. So you leave your body in the picture. Leave your body in the picture. So you're dissociated. Now I want you to take that picture and float up above your timeline, right up above now. So you're above now, above the timeline. And here we're going to take 4 deep breaths together. Ready, everyone? Inhale. Open the mouth, exhale. All of your energy into that picture. Again, inhale. Exhale. Your life force going into that picture. You bring it to life. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Your last breath, everything you got. Full breath out. Good. Now take that picture out into the future to whatever date it is for your goal, for you to achieve that goal. And make sure you've got the year, 2018 or 2019, whatever the goal is for you. Include the year so it doesn't just fall back. So go out to that date and that year, and then just let that picture drop straight down into the timeline. Just let it go. Let it slot right in and see it just slot into that date. Perfect. Now I want you to just, you know the sound Tupperware makes when you lock it into place? Like you click it in, just lock that into place right there in the timeline. Good. Now you're still above that date. I want you to just turn and look towards now. And I want you to now notice all of the events between then and now reevaluating themselves to support you of your goal. And you may or may not notice this, and you may or not notice what's going on. But if you do, you're going to notice all these changes and all these things taking place to support you to achieve that goal. You're meeting the people that you need to meet. You're making the connections. The opportunities are flowing towards you to meet the right people and to have the right conversations. And you're taking action every single day. You're in action towards achieving the goal that you want, because you know what you want and you know that you can achieve everything that you set your mind to and that you put into the future. Notice all of that reevaluating and slotting into place to support you perfectly to achieve your goal. And then float all the way back to now. and come back into the room. Cool. Are you back? Can you smell popcorn? Cool. How was that? How do you feel? I've got tingles in my body and I didn't even really do it. Well, I was guiding you through it. I wasn't doing it for myself. Does it feel good? Do you feel different from when you just first got on the call? I'm hoping you do. Great. So that's how we put goals into the future. And you can do this process for all of the other goals that you set in the beginning. And you can make them smart, and then you can do it yourself. You've got the procedure. You can do this. We can play this back and set more goals into the future. My pleasure, Curtis. Thank you. Awesome. So here's what your opportunity work is for this week, guys. Your opportunity work is to start your day or end your day with gratitude. So if you've got a gratitude journal, I want you to write in it. And at least 3 or 4 things. The more you do, the better. 10 things is great. But just spend some time to think about the little things, the big things, like whatever it is that you're grateful for. And try to get different things each day. And come from a place of gratitude. And this will change your life. Thank you so much for being on the call, guys. I've got to run to get to my gate and board my flight to Tauranga. Yay! So I'm heading for more development. So I'm going to be doing an immersion for 3 days with Sally Anderson and Evolve Leadership. And so Curtis is like, I was wondering. Yeah. So I will see you. I'll see you on Monday after I finish those 3 days. I'll probably be dead tired, but I'll be here. All right, guys. Have a lovely evening, and I'll just unmute you so you can all say good night. Bye-bye. You're all unmuted. Thanks so much for being here.
Okay.
Yeah. See you Monday.
Nice trip.
Yeah. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.